Hey, brother.
Hi.
Are you laughing at my brother?
Hey, Romano.
Is that why you slap my brother around in public?
Why did you do that?
Name me brother.
Whatever happened to, am I my brother's keeper, huh?
Hey, brother.
Oh.
You're my older brother, and I love you.
Oh, he is truly his brother's keeper.
I came first.
That's really personal information. And I don't know if we've set the proper rating.
Well, after having the first recorded version of our intro song being heard for the first time in public, I'd say I did come first in this instance. That's really good. I love what you did with the mute on the backtrack. That was sweet.
Thanks, man.
Well done, man. Your Ableton skills have improved.
Can I show you a couple other things?
Yeah, send it.
I got a way better gong.
Yeah, hit it. Oh, I want to do an accent really bad.
Zach told me about that. It's a pack by The Count with a K.
Yeah. You were mentioning that.
Yeah, he told me to check out Count's free packs for really natural, like warm, soft drums.
One.
And it's
Two.
got no Count samples, despite that being the graphic on everything. But yeah, best gong I've ever heard.
I'm impressed.
And I'm bringing in Hollywood Hulk Hogan too.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Oh, you found it.
I did find it.
How
yeah.
long did that take? We looked for that for what? Like 2 months?
Well, yeah, it could be any reason, but several YouTube searches of just let me tell you something, brother, are Hulk Hogan videos, but they're long and
Right.
didn't dig through to find it. But there's a 4-second one that was on the front page when I checked earlier today of just that.
Perfect.
So there it is.
That's awesome. That's well, I mean, we might have to do a recut of the official recorded version of the theme song, but
It's an open session.
are you able to play that? Are you able to play the backing track and just try adding that in right now? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh right.
Hey, brother.
Are you laughing at my brother?
Hey, Romano.
Is that why you slap my brother around in public?
Name me brother.
Whatever happened to, am I my brother's keeper, huh?
Hey, brother.
You're my older brother, and I love you.
Oh, he is truly his brother's keeper.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
The thing about I might warp Hulk Hogan to be faster because that sample is like all of the 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I think his timing's perfect, though.
Yeah.
Especially for our tempo. What is the tempo on that? Like 108 or something?
Of our theme song?
Yeah.
Cool 85, bro.
Ooh, that's down in a good range.
Lo-fi hip hop standard tempo.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of those lo-fi sample packs come with a lot of grooves that are like designated at 80,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yes, 75 and 85 are the common BPMs for the drum loops.
Yeah.
I have some really awesome news.
Oh, full send. You're on it today, bro.
We
Yeah.
submitted the album.
Oh, it's in.
It's in.
Sadness, madness, pride, greed.
Are 4 words that have nothing to do with it. No, I'm just kidding. That is the title of the album.
I love it.
Thanks, man.
It sounded great when we did the listen back.
The masters are brilliant.
Boy.
Billiant.
Hell yeah.
Produced by Blue Light Bandits
Yep.
and friends.
Shout out Anders Borg.
Engineered and mixed by Anders Borg with some Bill Ryan stuff.
Yep. Dan also did a lot of work on it too.
Yes. Lots of editing and mastered by Bill Ryan.
Yep.
At Farmview Studios using
So-
the finest gear.
So good.
Yeah.
What a goddamn professional.
Yeah.
We should have him on the show when we can have a table that's big enough to fit another guest.
Bill Ryan is, I think, a top 5
Yeah.
guest goal of this show.
I could probably list off my top 5 right now.
Send it.
Bill Ryan. Maybe not as number 1, but I'm just listing the general top 5,
Yeah, yeah.
obviously. The band, the whole band, Blue Light Bandits, including John Bricker. He's part of that.
Yeah.
Oompa. I mean, I've always wanted Ash to be on the show, but
Just kidding, babe.
I'm not kidding. I'm playing. Ash is the best. It would be great to have Rachel on the show, but I know we have talked about doing our own thing on the side, so maybe save that for something else.
Yeah.
Introspective conversation about media and social life and stuff. It's cool. Like, we have such good conversations. We just always are like, oh, damn, I wish we had recorded this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What else we got? I said 4.
You're at 4.
I'm at 4. I mean, I would love to interview Eric Ferris.
Yeah, that's the logical choice we've mentioned several times.
Yeah, his amount of life experience and stories from the coolest places and events at times in American history is so interesting.
Yeah.
And his ability to capture the detail of those events is so cool to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, any conversation with Eric is perfect.
I would like to have Max on the show.
Excellent choice.
Have him school us on like wine world stuff that he's just so deep into now.
Wine and running a venue.
His business, yeah. Venue / like event company presentation concept.
Brandon Estevez would also be a great guy to have on the show.
Yeah. Sunshine at Night.
Sunshine at Night. I love what he's doing.
Yeah, dude.
I also love that he's sticking to the Worcester downtown stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what a cool place to like be recognized as a routine guy that you can go and see in a very niche group of nightlife activities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that making house music live with real analog instruments is so hard to do. And it's so hard to do well. Yeah. And all of the content I've seen from him for the last like year and a half has just been like, holy shit. Yeah. Like, this is really cool stuff. Yeah. It's the kind of stuff that I definitely, from a personal music taste, kind of get fatigued of after a while, simply from the necessity of a rigid format. But as I hope
that was Brandon.
I hope that came through the mics. Yeah, shout out, Brandon. The necessity of that like very rigid format in order to make that music where everything is on the same clock and like locked to the same grid. While I think I definitely couldn't listen to it from like this music is moving me kind of perspective, I could watch him do it for a whole show and be fascinated just by trying to understand the process of what he's doing. Yeah. It's so cool.
He's brought the craft back to a genre that I feel has suffered from the reputation of, among musicians, suffered from a reputation of, as far back as I can remember, EDM really, really hitting as mainstream music. Like it came immediately with videos of DJs at festivals whose tables aren't even plugged in and stuff. And and Brandon is the opposite of that. He brings such a personalized and extreme personalized touch and like a work ethic that is crazy and attention to detail that's so impressive. And I think he won a Worcester Music Award this year.
Yeah, I think you're right.
In like the DJ or electronica category. I voted for him.
Hell yeah. Did you guys win any awards this year?
We did win an award this year.
How did I not? Do you guys just not even post about it?
Well, Dan was there at the event to receive it. It was at Off the Rails.
Oh, that's awesome.
Our new favorite spot. Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
That's such a good place to have it.
Yeah, it was great for it. It really ideal layout for like everyone's in the crowd and there's a presenter and then the winner just comes out of the crowd and easily walks up on stage, receives the award on a stage that everyone can see them on, and then they come off and take photos in front of the whole production of the stage. And then was that a little fuppity in the in the audio?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out where that came from.
I'm sure it's fine.
It might have been your 1/8 inch for your computer audio.
Son of a bitch.
But don't worry about it. It was a little blippity.
Yeah. But yeah, we want Blue Light Bandits won the 2022. I guess 2022 is the award show in the beginning of 2023. That year application always throws me off.
It's like Cars. Or wait,
it's a reverse of Cars.
Reverse of Cars. Yeah. They delay it a year.
Dude, I drove my 2024 Honda Pilot to the 2022 Worcester Music Awards.
Exactly.
Case in point. But yeah, we won for I think it was best live act, and if it wasn't that, it was like best pop act.
I think it was a live act. I remember that's
I think we're saying it now, and photographically, I'm remembering we've won live act. I think a couple times over the last 5 or 6 years. This year it was pop act, and I remember that was the only category we were in, and I thought like that's interesting, but I guess we haven't been nominated in that one yet, and it doesn't not make sense when compared to
you guys are rock music, not pop music.
Yeah, that's true, but the acts in the rock category are very different musically than what
metal
we are. No, because there's a metal category too.
Winter is blood.
Rock is just hard rock. I don't think you'd find a piano. I could be wrong, but I don't think you'd find a piano in any of the like rock acts, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it just sets us apart because like
it's funny you
we
say that.
Really I feel we ride the line and teeter R&B and rock like real hard always, if not like both at the same time, and that sets us apart from bands who would have no hesitancy being like we're a rock band.
Yeah.
Although I find myself saying that more and more, the more I hear like what other bands that are similar configurations to us are doing.
I mean, you guys have defined yourself as groove rock before, right?
Yeah, and I think we're kind of ready to stop doing that. We had a conversation amongst ourselves recently about how like that is correct in the sense of the words.
Right. But you have to like
but that's
define
not a
it.
thing.
You have to like define it to people, and that's always weird.
Yeah, it doesn't help answer the question, what kind of music are we? It some people hear that and they're like, okay, I think I can imagine what that is. But it doesn't really mean anything. And we like alternative kind of applies almost, but not really.
Well, now that Mike at Joe's Albums said the Police comparison.
Oh, I loved that.
How would you define the Police?
Rock with reggae influence.
Okay.
Or I mean, maybe even just Caribbean music influence, because some of it's like ska and some of it's reggae,
which is influenced by the Caribbean,
but a lot of it's jazz too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of jazz in a lot of our stuff too. Not like any jazz and like Are You Ready Now kind of songs,
but like you guys are fucking with weird meters and like chord progressions that resolve in very creative ways that you wouldn't necessarily expect. So
yeah. Oh, the other one, neo soul. We toe that line with a lot of the songs that we have too.
Yeah.
And neo soul, generally I feel like that's jazz, but with rock energy.
Yeah, I feel that.
And that's like, it doesn't define us completely, but it's in that mix.
Yeah.
Highest Coyotes Instagram bio has always been polyrhythmic gangsta shit, or something, which I love. That's
polyrhythmic gangsta shit.
Yeah, that's a great one. And that answers the question when people ask about them. So we just got to figure out. Groove rock is, we're groovy and generally it's rock music, but there's going to be a better, more succinct more understood way of explaining what kind of music we are at some point.
I think it's been interesting. You guys as a band have been trying to figure out the best way to do this social media thing, and still actually feel like you're not selling your soul. Like that's fascinating to me because I sympathize with you. Like I bailed on social media like 2 years ago in the sense that I was going to participate, but some of the utilities that the social media services provide, I didn't want to get rid of. Yeah, like Facebook Marketplace and actually pretty much just Facebook Marketplace. And it being essentially like a birthday calendar. That's kind of nice if you need to reference people's birthdays.
Facebook Messenger is great, dude. What are you talking about?
Dude, the best fucking app I've ever used. No. But like same with Instagram. I kind of just use it as a photo album for like my work if I need to quickly reference like a piece of my own photography or videography or something.
Yeah.
But having to engage an audience who wouldn't otherwise know about you, an audience who gathers their new favorite artists by what they see on their TikTok feeds and their Instagram feeds and their YouTube shorts. Like that's such a, frankly, I think it's stupid that that's how people ingest new music nowadays, or it's a primary way that people ingest their new music these days.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that you guys, as all hardcore musicians who are playing music for musicians and like still want to engage with an audience who may not know about them, like how do you find like passion in doing that? I like that your guys' approach from our conversations yesterday were kind of based in kind of making fun of how you have to do that, but like not directly. Like that joke is for the people who understand that you guys are a band who doesn't want to be doing this.
Yeah.
But the average day Joe who is just seeing new music and new faces for the first time are like, oh, they're just, playing around and they're playing the game. And
Yeah.
I like people who play the game, so I'll tune into what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, man. It's what a fun, sorry, because I don't want it to seem like I'm having fun watching you guys not enjoy making content, but like, I just think it's cool that you're trying to tackle this from like a way that you don't diminish your passion for it.
Yeah. Haven't figured it out yet, but doing the work to try and get there. The breakthrough, I talk with John a lot about this because I have very edged feelings on the need to do this.
I mean, they have companies that do this for people. It's like,
yeah,
people get it. Yeah.
But John's got a great way of defining like the goal that we have to accomplish with this, which is like, it's a less than ideal series of platforms that we have to present ourselves on in a competitive way with everybody else doing this. But like it or hate it, it does introduce us to people who otherwise would never hear about us and might start listening to our music and buying our tickets as a result of that. And like as many rules as there are also no rules. And
Right.
It's scary to like enter that space and kind of make up your own rules. But we get caught in like the cycle of like looking at other bands, especially from our region, who are doing way better on their social media than we are, and like trying to get a sense of what works and what doesn't. And what's comforting on some level is that like whenever you see a little video piece or whatever that is something we could easily replicate or do ourselves, put our own spin on it, it's not always the thing that performs well. Like I do believe, despite all of the barriers that go along with using these platforms and how frustrating it can be to find success with them, I do want to believe that the time goes in, the effort goes in, and the more authentic and true to yourself you are, the quicker you get to the place that you're
Right.
trying to be. And what I talked to John about just this week on that level is that like I'm starting to think that for us, we've played it safe for a really long time, and the content we've put out has been like really wholesome or, mostly non-existent. But like,
So we're
the
gonna
stuff that's
start
out there.
putting out dirty shit.
Well, I mean, like
Super edgy.
we have edges. I believe the four of us in the band and our friends with us are hilarious. It's a huge part of why I wanted to start doing this with you and eventually expand it or replicate the idea in other configurations and spaces and stuff. But
Right.
like, there's stuff like, oh, if YouTube will not monetize you as easily or at all if you're throwing fuck words around. But like to pretend that we don't do that naturally when we're hanging out and doing what we do is
Right.
that's stupid. And just that being afraid to cross that line could be the very thing that's holding us back from finding the success that we're looking for with this. So,
I mean, does that speak to the age of cancel culture where we feel like we can't overstep our bounds online for fear of being permanently shamed by some scar of like a BuzzFeed article that's like Blue Light Bandits doesn't have sensitivity to certain groups of people? It's like,
well, I think as long as we stay away from words like and we're not really going to get canceled by like the people that actually have power to cancel people.
we have the power to censor ourselves.
See, I pressed the beat button twice. You know exactly what 2 words I was saying. And it's important to remember that if you're not successful, nobody ever care. Like people, the only people that want to cancel people are the
ones who are profiting.
The targets
off
of cancel culture are the ones who are being successful by means of it.
Fast forward 10 years.
And that's not us.
This
I
is
mean,
being brought up.
well, we don't. Well, of all the platforms that get people in trouble, it seems like it's Twitter. Twitter is the one that comes back to bite you. And I think none of us use Twitter.
Fuck Twitter, dude.
Yeah, 100%. But like, you remember a couple months ago that guy on the Buffalo Bills, like died on the football field, and like the whole NFL stopped.
Not really. I don't really remember that, no.
Really, really quick story. I can't remember his name. Damar something. He was 24, like new guy in the NFL, and he took a hit that like killed him clinically.
Wow.
And, like his heart stopped, and they got him back. He's back. He was at the Super Bowl. Like they brought him out to put him in front of the Super Bowl crowd
In a stretcher. Just like,
no, he was. I think he was back.
ow.
I think he was back by then. But I remember because really the only platform I use with any regularity for fun is Reddit. And I remember seeing that that dude is 24.
Mm-hmm. Damn, he's young.
Yeah, and what's trippy is that 10 years ago he was a 14-year-old kid.
Yeah, geez.
10 years ago I was 20.
10 years ago, I was 18.
Yeah. So we were both older than, like, we were older than this guy, but like 10 years ago, I remember Twitter really starting to take off in my world, and then
Yeah.
everybody was doing it. I had a professor who insisted on his students tweeting at him in order to get in touch with him rather than email, because he believed so much that it was like the
next
future.
thing.
Yeah. Anyway, people, when that dude like died and came back to life, and the whole NFL like froze, and everyone was thoughts and prayersing him, and like that football game, it was a whole thing in the NFL because like they stopped the game when he almost died, and they like had to figure out how to finish the game.
Right.
Some people took that moment to dig back into this dude's Twitter account, and and there was a screenshot of like 6 tweets in a row that are just at people in his life, and he's like, "Bro, you're gay. So gay. Why are you gay?" Like,
Oh my God.
I'll even take a step and say, like,
He was just wasted.
while
one
this
night.
is homophobic language, but like clearly it's a 14-year-old kid goofing around with his
Fucking
friends on Twitter, like.
Oh my God.
So and in Reddit, the subreddit that was showed this was, you know, it was a negative reaction to the fact that somebody did that, that they went back into this dude's Twitter history and like how dare you do that at this crucial moment in his like life or death situation with the football game and
Right.
everything. And that just reminded me, like, all right, I did use Twitter for like a couple months. I went to South by Southwest in 2014. I was just starting to kind of remember that I should use it more often. And someone told me like Twitter's going to be great at South by because of all the artists that are in town. So if you're checking up on hashtags and people's handles, you can more easily like pursue the location of certain celebrities and events and giveaways and free food
you can
and stuff.
track them.
Yeah. And I remember I had a friend in my group that was like, he's like, I've been tweeting that like fake shit is happening. Like Pharrell is here. Like I'm at the
Oh my God.
I'm at the Fader Fort and Pharrell is here. And so I did a couple of those just to see, and I did get like reactions and comments like, wait, like people being like, you're a liar, or like I'm here. Where is he? I don't see him.
You're
You know,
just playing the game.
yeah.
Playing the game.
And then I remember I think the most volatile shit I ever said was my buddy Adam and I were hanging out and rooming together that week, and we went to one of the major downtown Austin venues because Jay-Z and Kanye were doing a show. I think it was the Watch the Throne year.
Wow.
So they were doing a Watch the Throne set, and
Big
it was
year for hip hop.
and we had badges, so it would, if we had gotten in, it would have been a free Kanye and Jay-Z concert.
Crazy.
It was Samsung Presents.
Okay.
And everybody,
Sambu,
all those
sambara.
companies and all these places were doing the like tech company thing of like, it's so much about the hype that nothing else matters and nothing else is realistic. And
Right.
Adam and I got there. We stood in a long line. We got probably 15 people's length from the doors, and they shut them and were like, we're at capacity. No one else can come in.
Sounds about right.
And Adam and I started like swigging from a Fireball fifth that he
You
had
had
that
a
we were walking
fifth of
around
Fireball?
with. Yeah, it was bad. It
That's
was-
college, dude.
Yeah, I know, very college, but I could still taste it. Too much Fireball is bad in
Oh,
your
it's the
in
worst.
your mouth. But we were walking away from that just going, fuck Samsung. And we
You just wrote a post that was
Oh,
like at Samsung.
I fired
fuck
off like
you.
6 or 7 hashtag fuck Samsung, but I think all my ire was in that direction, and I didn't accidentally say anything too volatile or crazy at any victimized minority group
No,
or
don't.
anything that's going to come back to bite me.
Don't worry. I'm sure Samsung is probably following some unethical practices in their factory.
Oh, of course they are. There's absolutely zero doubt about it. Fuck Samsung could apply to any number of issues related to the company Samsung, but they
did
fucked
you-
Adam and me over personally that night, and I haven't forgotten it, and I stand by my tweets.
Did you know that a small Chinese child's hands are the perfect size to fit into a hot molded smartphone case?
Samsung is Japanese, though, right?
Huh?
Samsung's I mean, no. I'm with you. I would assume that Chinese slave labor people are building Samsung products, but Samsung is a Japanese company, right?
I have no idea. But all I can tell you is that when we would sometimes consider putting a display in a product, we would often look at essentially they manufacture them in China. So I thought partially that it was a Chinese brand, but
We're all wrong.
what is it, like Swiss?
South Korean.
South Korean. Good on you, Samsung.
Yeah. So anyway, tweets. I'm not too concerned about any of us having old tweets come back to bite us. The way that has for like any celebrity that's ever like suddenly blown up for some reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, dude. I also feel like musicians, many of my favorite musicians ever have had some sort of an edge to them.
Yeah.
And it's been part of the branding, and it is part of what makes people want to buy in, not just to your music, but to your brand and the experience of it. And like, the four of us are not punk rock guys, but I think we're all much more like comedian-ish. We're more aligned with like all the comedy podcasting and radio shows and stand-up comedy shows that I've listened, like that's the vibe that I think we all share a mutual love for, and that's an unfiltered, uncensored, explorative world.
Right.
And that's the lane that I can see us doing well in, at the expense of probably not being very wholesome sometimes, because it's the wholesome stuff that can make me cringe the hardest when I see that. And that's what I see in so many of the other artists and bands pages in our atmosphere, is like
Inauthentic.
syrupy, sweet,
Yeah.
shove it in your face, wholesome PG bullshit. And like it fuels our love for life and for the craft so much more to like parody that and laugh about it. And we're not out to hurt anybody's feelings directly, and we would never want to do that, but that's how we feel about the ecosystem and how we should be branding ourselves in that space. And the other aspect of it is like musical badassery. Like that's
True. Yeah.
so much of dude, my favorite compliment that we hear with some regularity is that like we're really out there playing our shit, and it's really happening, and there isn't a laptop in the corner making half the sound that you hear.
Yep.
And that's like a formidable badass thing. It doesn't translate to views and stream counts and all that kind of stuff necessarily, but I've always felt, since I wanted to do this, that like that the authenticity that goes along with actually being able to do it and do something analog in front of people that's like truly impressive and amazing. And I think about like the way Jay solos and the way Simon solos and the way Dan solos and like the way we all sing together, and that's stuff that we've been working on for a long time, and we've got the goods to back it up in front of people, and I would love to present that, but you know, these platforms don't really give you easy options to present that at a high fidelity. It's very hard to have a drum set involved in any, unless it's a drums video.
Right.
It's very hard to do anything on a platform like that involves drums, and so we've wasted a lot of time trying to force ourselves into that box. And I think like it's just going to work better if we can relax and get comfortable and laugh about it, and then still whip the phone out when like something truly badass is happening. And
Jay said at one point, the more effort it looks like you put into it, the less interested people are.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating to me because
It's less relatable.
I think you just,
High production value is not relatable to most people.
right. That's fat. I never thought about it that way. That's so true. I think that might be the core of it.
Yeah.
You just have to make like out of pocket content that's relatable to people without really even thinking about it, I guess.
Anybody can lip sync and do a simple dance in their house. That's why that's always been like the most popular thing to do on those platforms.
Yeah. Everyone wants to mash their titties together and put them up to the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do it. I can relate to that.
I do it in my private videos folder.
That's right. I'm actually on another app called Flip Flop.
You're riffing, right? Or is that real?
No, I'm riffing.
Oh,
but,
okay, good.
But something tells me it probably is real.
Yeah, I'm sure this is, flipflop.com.
I'm on Flip Flop.
Only flips, only flops.
Flops. Only paddy walks and green socks.
We've made the joke several times to start a website called OnlyBands and
The guy's holding that domain hostage.
replicate like what Patreon is basically, but parody OnlyFans at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a joke more than an actual
I
idea.
know, but I like the concept of something like Patreon, but
Nah, fuck that.
I do remember somebody firmly saying, why would you ever give yourself a middleman when you yourself as a band can monetize your own content?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It seems like just another place to have your name posted in front of people's eyes so they can relate to you and give you their money out of sympathy.
Dude, that in the Louis C.K. and Shane presidents discussion,
I just started watching it again because I love it.
because it's the best
so
thing that's
much.
ever been put on YouTube.
I think it could be.
I think it is. The part in the middle where Shane's like, all right, now we're going to take a break and I'm going to read some ads and then the rest of the episode will be available on Patreon. And he's like,
Louis is gonna hate us.
and Louis is just like, what? You're making them pay for the next part of this? What the hell is wrong with you? Why would you do that, Shane? That's a dick move. And Shane's like, stop, let me read my ad. And Louis is like, that's stupid, man. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And then he bullied Shane out of doing it. And it was free for everybody now on YouTube.
I think he's right.
And yeah, I'm happy for that. There's some real like authentic, genuine content creators out there that have done very well because Patreon's made the difference between them being able to do it and not do it, and
Yeah.
that's a great thing.
And it was started by the Pomplamoose guy.
Yeah. Well, whatever. I don't know much about them except they were in a lot of commercials.
I
And
was
the covers are fun.
I was an early contributor to their content in the early YouTube days.
Good for you.
And by contributor, I mean I gave them a few watches.
I meant to hit the claps. Still getting used to my visual over here.
You failed me.
I did. And instead you got the love of a comedy audience.
I'll take it.
But yeah, it's made the difference. I mean, and I'm sure, I don't know what the numbers are, but compared to like the revenue collected from the company versus what goes to the artist, Patreon's world's better than like what Spotify and you know, the streaming services and stuff are. But
I mean, do you see Patreon the same thing as GoFundMe, but specifically for?
it's in the same category of I will never participate. But Patreon's geared toward entertainers and musicians and comedians, my two favorite groups of people
Right.
in the entertainment world, I think. So for it to work for people on that level that's cool, and I hope their splits are fair and reasonable. But yeah, it's like, but why even deal with that at all?
Yeah. Makes sense.
You have to get to the point where you don't need that stuff anymore. That's how I feel about social media as a band. It's like it's part of the stage that we're at now. If everything goes well in the way that we want, we will get to a point where, as John Bricker so eloquently says, we post a picture of tour dates and people start buying tickets, and all we say is tours on sale.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's where we want to be. And,
Right.
But the difference with what we're doing in this moment is that I love doing this. I really
my
enjoy.
God. Yeah.
I really, really enjoy doing this, and I think the other guys in the band will too when it can expand to be. Familiar sounds will stay familiar sounds, but
When we have a longer table and 2 more cameras.
yeah. I mean, I'm envisioning one of the next practice spaces that we get to work out of is going to be able to accommodate both genuine band practice and like going into the mode of like now we're having the band podcast,
Right.
the practice night podcast,
Yeah.
and basically seamlessly transition from and use the mics that are set up and be able to have the instruments that we've got going in, and between all the stuff that we all share, I think that's doable. We just need to be in the kind of space that allows the filming and the recording of that to be like on and off and fine and
Yeah. Effortless.
yeah. But yeah, man, that's enough content based discussion. Think about this way too much. I want to talk about our new album.
Dude. 5 songs? One which people have already heard. 4 new songs.
Well, no, actually, depending on how long you've been rocking with BLB, there are 3 brand new songs to the world. One song that we put out 7 or 8 years ago, maybe even more, like 10.
They re-release.
And it's like it's like our new version with new personnel and a new vibe and atmosphere completely.
Hell yeah.
And then one song that has been out for a few months with a music video. But yes, the track listing is Something Green. Are you ready now? Old Habits, recorded live at Farmview Studios.
Hell yeah.
Patience, and Following Directions, featuring Scritchy Scratchy from
boy.
the guy sitting across the table.
I want to be so much better, but
Dude.
I think it came out really good.
No, it's great. It's an awesome texture to have particularly in the I love it in the outro.
Yeah,
it's like
me
it
too.
gives such a nice flavor to the extended fade out outro.
Yeah, something to just kind of like, just something to add a little ambience in an Incubus-y kind of way.
We're practicing with Eli for the Lizard Lounge show on March 31, and it's a bit of a stripped percussion setup that he's got. And for Following Directions, the decision was for him to lightly just keep the conga groove during the verses. Sounds so nice.
Nice.
It sounds so. And then he comes in with the shaker and the tams on like the big hits and the choruses, and
Hell yeah.
so that was a really nice evolution of that for a live arrangement. But
What's his full gear list for this show? It's like
conga,
belly dancer,
shaker, tam,
belly dancer scarf.
belly dancer, scarf. No, he's got one stand, and that stand has chimes at the top, crash cymbal,
The blocks.
and then he put like a tam that you can hit with a
Nice.
mallet. He's basically majority switching between conga and like handheld shaker and tam.
Nice.
But yeah, man, we took photos for this 2 weeks ago at this dope studio in Peabody, Massachusetts, called Cold February Films.
Very cool.
It's just like a double garage bay space in like a strip mall that has a pizza place and a pet grooming business.
Yep.
And they have a cyclorama wall,
So cool.
which is super, super cool. It's like you're standing in like a 12-foot high, fully surrounded white space that's all made of plaster, and the walls curve into the floor.
it's a seamless mold between the floor and the walls.
Yeah, and when you're standing in it and the lights are doing crazy stuff, in the bright white you can really see where you're at and everything. But when the lights are either dimmed or projecting stuff on the wall, it's very easy to like lose your sense of depth when you're looking at it because it just kind of goes on forever and like the
It's like
floor
you're in the
and
desert.
yeah, for sure. But the studio was dope. It had like a little prop inside of a plane.
Oh, that's
thing.
sweet.
With like plane seats and like a stewardess like curtain and like a bar. It had a little corner with crazy paint in the wall and like a prop cord phone, rotary
Nice.
phone. It even had a prop jail cell
Oh,
with like
that's
an
great.
iron bar sliding door, which we didn't use any of those. We pretty much stayed inside the cyclorama the whole time. But yeah, we worked with Yaz. I think his last name is Ferrafino. He's the man, dude. Yaz
His photos came out sick.
Yeah, Yaz is creative genius. Also the director of our Patience music video.
Oh, yeah. I met him at your Off the Rails show for not New Year's, the album
Back
release.
in June.
Album
Yeah.
release party.
Yeah. I really hope you can be at the next photo shoot that we do because
Yeah.
I feel like you guys would have just started riffing off each other's photo ideas and
Yeah, I regret not being there. I was exhausted, though, from a busy weekend. I was like,
happens, man.
oh, man. But it just looked like such a good hang. Even
That's
the
how we all felt.
the pictures of John were awesome.
Oh, John got in on there, yeah. Yeah. Yaz has not shot us video, but he has not really shot our band in like a photo setting. So he was like figuring out how to make us feel comfortable and like loosen up and do different poses and dance around and stuff because a
Yeah.
lot of the photos are based on like us moving. But yeah, I think the photo choices that he made that we decided to be the cover of the album are the most artistic and the most creative and gives us a whole new vibe to work with based on what we've been doing up till this point. So yeah, very excited for people to see it, but most excited for people to hear it.
I think his particular flair on style for his photography and for his like composition work is so modern and fresh that it'll hit a new group of people.
Yeah.
Or I think it'll encourage a new group of people to click on it simply out of the modern and like cool nature of how it looks.
Yeah.
Like this art is intriguing enough that I'm gonna like investigate. I think honestly glad it happens. Album artwork is so great when you're studying the details, but doesn't necessarily have that like it doesn't stand out on the shelf as being like wild. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
what's an album that I can think of? Like any King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard album is like I want to buy this just so I can look at it. You know what I mean? Or have it like in a frame. But I think Yaz's stuff is just it's so new. I really like it. And especially because I have a bias how I visualize in my mind your guys' sound as a band. And it's a dark and like very thoughtful. And Yaz's artwork is like bold and like very colorful and like vibrant is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see how just the release of this next album yields results, and we might be able to interpolate some of that based on the different changes to the songwriting and to the
Is that a real word?
interpolating.
Yeah.
I think so. Interpolation. Interpolate.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Did I use it correctly?
To insert something of a different nature into something else.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you.
That checks out. I'm trying to think. I see the word interpolate a lot in one of our softwares that we use to do recordings. When you have something of a different recording bit rate. So like 441. Oh no, sorry, not bit rate. I guess you just call it the recording rate. You know how 444.1 is standard and 48. 48K is the higher quality video version.
Yeah.
I think you can interpolate 44 audio to 48 audio, and that's called an interpolation. So that's how that word got planted in there. But
Nice.
I'll be honest, I didn't know. Thanks for citing my sources.
Yeah, dude, of course. What's your what's your favorite song from Sadness, Madness, Pride, and Greed?
Well, we're waiting. That's another one. Add that to the list. That'll be a great picture for you to reference too on the chart. The face he's making.
Yeah.
It's not Leslie Nielsen. What is that guy's name? Fuck.
Is this from Billy Madison?
No, it's from Caddyshack.
Oh yeah, the judge. I can't think of his.
Yeah.
I can't think of that actor's name.
Hey, Judge. We're all gonna get laid.
Yeah.
I think asking me what my favorite song on one of your albums is sucks because like I love them all for a myriad of many different reasons. But I'm going to answer this from like which song, if I were to go to your album and then pick a song to play first, if I had time for one song in the car on a car ride to Duncan.
Yeah.
I would probably put Following Directions on.
Oh.
Because the music that I personally am attracted to is the music that kind of gives you the need to like kind of move to it, and it like gives you energy. Like I don't find myself ever casually listening to like very somber like acoustic music or anything that's just kind of meant to calm you down, or maybe not meant to, but the nature of the music is kind of to calm you down. I like the music that kind of gives you energy.
Yeah.
It's why I think I love listening to music in the car and in the shower, because those are both such like mundane activities that getting to inject that experience with a little bit of music gives me like kind of this unique energetic experience.
Yeah.
But I think Following Directions, going between the like, how do I describe those different parts? But yeah, the choruses and the verses, the change in groove between the odd meter and just the like the mangled iron and clay part.
Yeah.
I love when it drops into that and you kind of get that like infectious stank to the shift in pace and feel and just overall groove in those sections.
Yeah.
It's so unique from what you guys have done in the past too, that it's also kind of like a new Blue Light Bandits experience in a way.
Yeah.
Something Green, you could argue, is more energetic simply because of it's a little more aggressive, I'd say.
Yeah.
But I do find myself falling into kind of a methodical listening of that song rather than like an active listening. Like I'll just kind of be doing and I'll just let that just kind of loop around in my head, and it doesn't really evolve from there, which is fine. Like I love that song for all the subtle little changes and details within, and that's why I feel like this is a bad question for me, because it sounds like I'm critiquing songs in a negative way.
Yeah.
I'm just describing why Following Directions gives me more energy than the others, I guess.
Yeah.
Is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I think it's the most dynamic song.
Following Directions or Something Green?
Following Directions.
Yeah.
Peaks and
Yeah.
valleys of intensity.
Yeah. That's the best way to describe, I think, what my ramble was about.
Yeah.
The rejuvenation of Are You Ready Now?
Yeah.
Gets me so hype. Probably the most emotional song for me on the record.
Yeah.
And then Patience is on here, right?
Yep.
And that's just so fucking dank. But I've been around for that song for quite a while now, so that's just it's a reprise to a song that I know and love already, so
Yeah.
it's automatically just kind of lower because I'm accustomed to it. And what's the last one on there?
Old Habits live.
Oh man, I wish that was a studio version, and it's recorded live in a studio, but
Yeah.
I personally would listen to it more if it was a recorded, isolated, tracked, cut up session.
Yeah.
That's just me.
That's very potential for the full album that will probably follow this.
That would be great.
Although by that point we would have released Old Habits 3 times. So that
Have
probably
we?
doesn't make sense.
Wait, what do you mean?
It's been out as a single since
It did come out
since
as a
December.
single. In audio too, right? Not just on video.
Correct. It's on streaming too.
Yeah. I like listening to live recordings, but not as much as studio recordings.
Yeah.
Just in general.
Yeah.
Tame Impala may be the exception because of all the like subtle, little, tiny musical changes that never mind. I'm totally biased towards Tame, so bad example.
Well, that's true.
Bad example.
I'm with you on I don't love listening to concerts, like concert recordings. The crowd noise takes me out of it. But good live session recordings I really enjoy, and I find myself, if they're in like an album, what's the Mac Ears song that's in the middle of Juicebox? That's like a I think it's Summertime. He did like, I just need a little bit of summertime.
I don't know that album very well.
Okay, yeah, it's like you listen to that full album, and I think Summertime Live is like right in the middle of it.
Okay.
And it's so good that like I love it. I kind of find myself forgetting that it's.
Yeah.
I think it's that one. I need to check, but
I mean, you guys essentially did the Snarky Puppy approach, the like intimate band members and instruments, close mic'd like in a studio.
yeah. I want us to do more of that in Farmview. But yeah, dude, I think for me, I think Patience is the best song on this album. By most metrics that you can measure a song, it's got like a little bit of everything, and it represents us in a very like who we are right now kind of way, and the type of music we're trying to make.
Right.
And it's it starts off like Latin jazz and evolves into like pretty heavy rock by the end, and that's a really cool evolution within like less than 4 minutes of music.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, Something Green, track 1, it's my favorite. There'll be enough of that type of humor for a lifetime around that groove.
Well, based on your new TikTok and Instagram direction, we might be able to make those jokes sooner than you think.
Yeah, no, you're right, man. But yeah, I'm biased that that riff came out of me, which
It's a great groove.
which is sort of a rare thing.
And the name, too.
I believe the name came from Mr. Simon Adamson.
Oh, that's awesome. Swedes.
And it's that song has had a nearly 2-year arc from like when I first showed it to everyone in the summer of 2021, like shortly after our first album came out. We were jamming on that, and our first album, with New BLB. But yeah, Something Green. It's a very special riff. It was a very communal songwriting process. It's sort of in many ways, it's the hot wax of this EP because it's first and it's sort of introductory of all of us.
Yeah.
It's like each of the 4 of us is featured very prominently in several moments throughout the song. Mm-hmm. It allowed me to do some songwriting, arranging things that I love in other songs where the first verse is my singing verse and I'm basically just playing whole notes on the bass while I'm singing. And then the second verse is Dan's verse, and he sings essentially the same words and melodies, but elevates them a little bit. Mm-hmm. And my focus is all on the bass, and I get to kind of riff around a little bit. And then immediately following that, the groove totally changes.
Yep.
And then Jay just rips a fat Jay solo. And it's one of my it's a solo that I feel like defines so many of the traits that Jay has as a guitar player.
Yeah.
And it's a well-crafted solo in that it starts very minimal.
Yep.
It makes you really appreciate all the space between the first couple notes he's playing,
Hell
and by
yeah.
the time we're building back up to the final chorus, he's pretty much in like bluegrass mode with the number of notes he's playing.
He's
and
flat picking, just
yeah, yeah, dude. So I love every second of that, and then the song ramps up at the end, and it's crazy. And Anders did such a cool job helping us arrange those huge vocal notes at the end.
a lot of layers.
So that last like 20 seconds of the song is just huge.
Yeah.
And then I think Are You Ready Now is the perfect song to come after that, because we end something green, crash cymbals wash down, and then bow down, and then we're right. And then so the energy of like listening in that order, it builds up from the beginning of Something Green and then like
Straight
carries on. If I could go back and do one thing on Something Green, it has always been that intro where we're kind of doing those on the beat and then syncopated hits. I love that, but what I've always heard in my head is an M83 style like spoken thing happening over that. That was really good. That was a good M83 impression.
They were playing that at 110 Grill when I got that with Mom and Dad the other day, and I was just sitting in the seat like, this song. And I started floating to the galaxies above.
I mean more like the problem is you
What
gotta.
do you mean?
Well, we don't have like I'm imagining like a profound spoken word performance or a quote from something.
So Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, I'm failing to like the song is starting and there's like somebody's famous or noteworthy speech happening in the background.
One small step for man.
Let's just fly. I Have a Dream in there.
Yeah.
People will love that.
Yeah. What's the speech from the Louis C.K. talking about the presidents? The one that he said he programmed in the joke idea.
I will not run for, nor will I accept my party's nomination for president of the United States.
To hide your shame when you fart.
Yep.
That's what it was.
Yep. Yeah, the Lyndon Johnson, I will not run for re-election speech.
Yes.
Yeah, that was great.
Sorry.
The only one that like is personal for me, dude, did you ever use StumbleUpon.com?
You showed that to me, and then I used it until it went defunct.
I used that in college until I realized that Reddit was sort of that same thing and in a more customizable way. But I stumbled into my favorite YouTube thing of all time, besides Shane and Louis C.K.'s President's Discussion.
You're right.
It's Alan Watts, the philosopher. And it's like a 2-minute clip. It's animated by Parker and Stone.
Oh my God.
From when they were like, I think college kids together.
Legend.
So the animation is pretty much all the Canadians of South Park. It's like that low res of an animated thing, and it's clips from a talk he's giving about like how life is a musical thing and how and he starts it off by saying, in music, the end of the composition is not the point of the composition. If that were the case, then the best conductors would be those who played the fastest, and orchestras wouldn't give concerts, they'd just play finales, and that would be the end, and music would suck. Music is about the beginning, everything in the middle, and then an end that wraps it all together. It's he draws out the idea of it's about the journey, not the destination. Yeah. But he does it in a way where he summarizes like a typical American person's life, or I guess he's British, so it's probably a British person's life. But you go through all the grades, and then you go to college, and then grad school, and then you have a job, and then you wake up and you're 40, and you realize that you don't feel any different than you've always felt. Your life has a way of kind of carrot and sticking people just from thing to thing, and you never really feel fulfilled, and that's because you treated life like it was to get to somewhere rather than and then like after he's made all those points and you've kind of invested your whole soul into what he's said and you've thought deeply about it and how it relates to yourself, he just very casually says he ends it by saying like, and then you realize like life is a musical thing, and you were supposed to sing and dance and enjoy it and not feel like, and I'm crying by that point always. Every time I've ever watched this video, I've ended in tears.
You bring tissues to the pre-watch.
Different levels of tears, and that feels so funny because you're also watching this Parker and Stone animation that's just downright silly.
Right.
And Alan Watts he's an awesome person. He's an orator. He's such a cool voice to listen to. And he talks about so many cool things. In fact, I was reading about him, and they credited his rises in and out of popular culture to like the advent of YouTube. Like,
oh wow,
he was pretty well known in his time, I think. But then when YouTube happened,
it just pushed him through.
People published his recorded speeches and addresses and lectures and stuff, and he got popular all over again.
Got it.
So yeah, check out Alan. Just Google or YouTube Alan Watts and like listen to stuff sometime, because I guarantee
definitely.
you'll feel amazing about it. But this one little music and life, like it's almost like a proverb that he has, and that was my go-to. Like that would be cool audio to put in the beginning of this song.
I see what you mean now.
But with that kind of stuff, like I feel like that is never worth the, our friend Oompa, she has like a Dave Chappelle sample in one of her songs from the last couple years.
Must have taken some time to get that cleared.
Well, yeah, cleared, or maybe she's not. I should ask her or John sometime, like how that all went down. But to pull like that was my problem, is like without knowing exactly what type of audio file or spoken word piece I wanted to put in there, it wasn't worth forcing it with something that didn't feel like it was the right fit. So
yeah,
we didn't go back there. But for future iterations, it's possible that we might add something like that, but it would need to be the right thing. It would need to mean something to us, and it would need to help the song be more effective and not just be like an accessory thing that we.
I'm happy to hear you say that. That was what I was going to tag on. Is as long as it's personal to you guys and is relevant to the, the song and it's like, perception, I think it's fine.
Yeah,
but I do find people tag on kind of like throwaway famous quotes sometimes, and it's just like, why is this on here?
Yeah.
Like, Mac Miller did that a lot. He would put like Apollo noises and like famous quotes from like the news that's just kind of like mainstream pop culture knowledge in the front of some of his tracks, and I'd be like, why is this here? Like,
yeah.
I
You did that with a song.
Yeah.
I want you to get mad.
I want you to get mad. Yeah, that was what is that from? What movie was that from? I'm mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take it anymore.
Like a newscaster guy, right? Or
Yeah.
something, like a talking head at a desk.
And it was from a famous movie about a news anchor.
Yeah.
Can't remember. Mom and Dad will be able to chime in sometime and tell us. But
Yeah, I was impressed with that because I had never heard of that clip before I saw you put it in the thing. So.
That's why I was attracted to it. I was smelling my own farts, and I wanted I wanted something unique that nobody knows.
Is that a Baroque cello? No. Is that a sack butt?
Yeah, hipsterism is out. Fart smelling culture is in.
Yeah.
Well,
Fart smelling culture has always been around.
do you have a fart sound on the board?
No, dude, that's gross. I'm just going to do that one. That could be a fart.
That's not bad. All right, dude. What do you say we get out of here?
Oh, man, that was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah, dude, the new EP comes out on March 31.
Fuck yeah.
And you should come see us play those songs and more at the Lizard Lounge, the legendary Lizard Lounge of Cambridge, Massachusetts, on Friday, March 31st. Get your tickets at bluelightbandits.com and hit us with the Familiar Sounds plugs, baby.
Familiar Sounds. We got sending fun shit so that we can talk about to our email, familiarsoundspodcast@gmail.com. Check us out right here on YouTube every Saturday for a new hour-long conversation between us. Listen to what we got going on. Definitely come to the Lizard Lounge and make sure you got your tickets for Boston Calling.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming up in May.
May 26th, baby.
May 26th. That's going to be a hell of a day.
On the Tivoli Audio Orange Stage.
Ooh, very good. And we also Foo Fighters are going to be there that day too. It's pretty cool.
That's true, man.
Is that why you
But
slapped
yeah,
my brother around?
this was a great week, man.
Yeah, dude.
Great talking to you, man.
Great app. Love you, bro.
Love you too.
My brother's keeper.
See you next week.
All right.
You're my older brother.
What happened?
Oh, he is truly his brother's keeper.
I came first. I came first all over this.
Sometimes when Ableton sat still for like a long time and I hit play on a session, some of the tracks just don't.
Oh,